Hey, class of 2021 families. This is the December 9th college placement discussion series. Today we are going to cover the winter months. I call it the harvest. This is when we start to move from the application process and getting materials in and supplements and essays and all that stuff, and we start to see what comes back. So, a lot of what I'm going to focus this session on is what could come back, what types of decisions, how do you deal with them, how do you put yourself in the best possible spot, to be admitted in the future if it's something where it wasn't, an outright admit to start. So I'm going to go through a couple different sections of this, and a lot of this is to be proactive. I know in the next week or two there's going to be a lot of decisions that are going to come out. Traditionally, between a couple of days ago to January 15th, there are a lot of early action, priority, single choice early action, early decision notifications that come out. Okay, so I'm going to go to the notes that I've provided here, and I've broken this out. How should I handle the winter months? So the first thing is we want to cover students wherever they are. So the first is for students who have been admitted. Maybe it's an early decision situation. Congratulations, that's amazing and very happy for you. I think the key, as we always try to talk about at the prep, is brotherhood and being supportive. So you might have gotten a wonderfully positive decision, but just always understand that not everybody is going to get exactly what they want. To be supportive of your classmates. I always tell students that they need to stay level in this process. It's not about how you start, but it's how you finish. So whether a student is very content with what they have in December 9th or April 2nd, it really doesn't matter. It's all about how it ends for the student and that they're excited about where they're going in the following year. So I kind of went through that a little bit. All right. I have a good story on that and a good illustration. I had a student that I dealt with years ago. All right. And it was a student who was having a meeting with me because he had been deferred from his top choice. And of course, he would have rather had an acceptance. We were having a meeting and talking about how he could respond to it. During that meeting, he heard a rustle in the hallway, and it was about 3 o'clock. And he said to me, "Hey, Mr. Laster, can I just have a second? Can I go out? One of my best friends is hearing from his early decision school, and I think he might have heard." And I watched as the student went out to the hallway and gave his friend a huge hug, was high-fiving because his friend had gotten an early decision to his top choice. This was a day after the student had not exactly gotten the news that they wanted. And I stopped the student and I talked to him and I said, "You don't realize how amazing what you just did was, right?" So that's the type of character, that we're looking for. So be supportive. For those who have not decided, maybe you get something that you like, but it's not your top choice. Maybe you're waiting. The key is relax. Just stay level with it. Understand that the majority of our class does not apply, to a binding process of early decision where it's their overwhelming top choice. On any given year, 60 to 70% of our students are not going to be in those pools. So you're one of many if you're going to be waiting throughout the year. All right. Other things that I've noted in this is, like we always say, hazards set forward. All right, stay level. You might get a decision like a defer that it's not a no. It could be a yes in the future. It could be a no, but at first, it's not an outright no. All right, so try not to get too high or too low. Be in constant contact with your college counselor with what's going on. If we don't know, we can't help you. So please keep us up to speed. Then I have a general note here for everyone. Keep your grades up. If you're admitted, keep them up. Leave no doubt. All right. You will have to submit a final transcript. For those who are still going to be applying in regular decision to schools, they're going to want to see your first trimester grades. If you get deferred or waitlisted, the first thing that they're going to ask for is additional grades to try to support your argument. So we're going to be asking you as college counselors, "Hey, how'd you do? How'd you do? If you did great, let's do that. Let's strengthen your file in any way we can." All right. Senior grades are going to be important. The other thing that I want to talk about for all students is 2 weeks ago, I explained the process of updating decisions in Naviance Student. Whenever you receive a decision, update it in Naviance Student. We are, as counselors, we are looking at this constantly. So if we see that a student may have, been admitted, we can tell them what to do next, okay? If a student has been deferred, we at least know. So maybe we can engage and we can and help. If we don't know, we can't help, all right? Naviance Student and updating your decisions is how we start to see how your process is going. And in a year where we don't see you as much and it's more difficult to be face to face, this becomes even more important. All right, so make sure you keep your decisions updated in Naviance. I sent a message through the portal, I believe 2 weeks ago, on exactly how to do it and where to do it in Naviance in the colleges you're applying to tab. All right. So I want to go down to the next section of our notes, and it is, okay, what do I do if I've been deferred from a college on my list, and what does this mean? I always want you students to understand conceptually what a college is doing and why they're doing it, because then maybe it'll help you understand the steps that you're taking and how you do those, and how you take those specific steps. So why were you deferred? It could be multiple things. The first is more of a you thing. They like what they see from you, but they don't love it. Okay, they're in a situation where you're borderline and they think, you know what? We have too small of a sample size here. Let's see what the student does in senior year. Maybe if they do better, maybe down the road, we'll move to admit them off the defer. They've given us enough, okay? So what they're doing is they're pushing you to regular decision. They're saying, we don't want to say no to you, we're not prepared to say yes. The other is more of a college-specific thing. It's not a you thing. Colleges want to have the most quality class that they can. So they might have a student that they fully know that they're not going to admit or going to admit, but they want to see what their regular decision pool looks like. So they'll say to themselves, let's defer the student. If later on, we have a spike in applications and quality, maybe we deny the student. On the other hand, if maybe our applications and regular decision are down 10%, then that student we deferred all of a sudden is going to be a yes. So that's less about your performance at times, and it's more about how colleges are structured and how they work. Okay? All right. So the first thing is the meaning. I talked about that right here. And then I'm going to go into, update. Okay? What do? You update. You let your counselor know. Let them know of that decision. Next thing you do is you take action. Okay? And you want to respond appropriately. Okay? How you respond depends on what the college asks you for. I'm going to say some general advisement. Now, every school is different, but a lot of schools will say to you first, if you've been deferred, are you still interested? Okay, and sometimes there's a form to submit back that says, yes, I am still interested. Because down the road, they're not going to look at any students that are deferred that sent a form back that said, hey, by the way, I'm not interested anymore. They're not going to waste their time. All right. The next thing you want to do is respond. So sometimes they'll allow you a new supplemental essay. In many cases, it's well received for you to craft a note to an admissions counselor to let them know, that hey, it's a contender for you. Or it might be a situation where you have no problem saying it's my top choice, and if you admit me, I'll attend. That's obviously the most powerful statement that you can give them for them to be able to predict yield and if you're actually going to attend or not. Okay. The other thing is grades, okay? So you want to respond with your most current academic process, okay? What you've done in senior year. About a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I explained the process for sending trimester grades. We do not send them automatically unless they are directly requested from us from a college. Everything outside of that, you guys will hold the keys. So I sent you the trimester grades request form. If you have myself or Mr. Filato, you would email that request form to Mrs. Farley, and she would send your trimester grades out to the schools that you listed. For all other, college counselors, you would email it directly to them, and they would send them out for you. So you want to respond. The idea is you have to say to yourself, how do I improve my file from where it is with new, fresh content? So when they open it up, they see, hey, this student has taken all the steps. I always say to students, if you don't respond at all to a defer, you can't expect, for the most part, to get admitted. You might get lucky sometimes, but in terms of our processes, that's not how we would have you handle it. Okay? And then, of course, there's follow ups. You might send a first response to them saying, hey, here are my grades. Here are some updates. Here are some new accomplishments that I've done. Could you add them to my file? And then maybe a month or two later, you may have another email that you send them where you say, here's my second trimester came out. And here's another thing that's happened. The key is when you communicate with admissions, you always want to communicate with them. Obviously, if you have questions that you can't really find answers to, on websites, but the second thing is during senior year, it's all about updates and it's all about good communication. So obviously, as college counselors, we could tell you how to communicate the right way and the wrong way, and we could help you craft, a message to them. There are some schools that are absolutely willing and love to receive notes, directly to them from students. Others will say, if it's not going through the portal, don't send it. So there's no one size fits all, but this is a lot of kind of general best practices. Okay. All right. Okay. So being waitlisted. All right. I sit in a lot of introductory meetings with students and I ask them, do you know what it means to be deferred? And almost 100% of the time, they say, yeah, it's kind of like a wait list. Well, it's a little bit different. All right. Now, the processes of how you respond to a wait list are very similar to how you respond to a defer. The difference is where you are along the timeline. A defer means you're just being pushed to another pool of applicants. Regular decision. So you're going to be reviewed again. You're getting a second review. A wait list is not that. A wait list is saying, we're going to work through this entire year and we're going to get to May. And once we get to May, we're going to look at how our enrollment is. And then if we are down on our enrollment, we will look at the wait list. So there's a chance you'll never get another review again. Okay. So, and on the other hand, there is a chance where maybe their numbers are down and they start to look at the wait list. All right. But a defer is obviously you still have a far better shot of admission than a wait list. All right. I always like to give, examples and some stories. All right. I had a student about 5 years ago who wanted to go to a university, out in California more than anything. The student probably would have run to California if I asked them. That's how badly they wanted to go. Did everything right. They had got deferred. Okay. They responded. They kept updating. They did tremendous in senior year. Okay. The day of graduation, they came up to me and said, I just got admitted off the wait list from the university. Now, that's the exception. It's not the rule. However, it just goes to show that every process is different. And sometimes you could take all the right steps and you could get a positive at the end. And sometimes with wait lists, you could take all the right steps and they may say, listen, it's great that you took all those steps, but we're full. We're full. Okay? So as I said, when you'll see through the notes that what you do for a waitlist situation is a little different. Now, you'll see during this time in the next few weeks, a lot of things, if they're not going to be accepts or denies, they would be defers. They wouldn't be waitlists. When we start to get to the later periods, early decision 2, early action 2, regular decision, schools are later in the timeline. They won't defer you off of that. They'll just send you right to the wait list. Okay? All right. I know that this is a little further along the line, but we'll start with this area first and then jump back. Let's say that you are admitted in early decision. Okay, that's a binding agreement. So basically what you're saying is once you send in a tuition deposit, you're not going to submit any new applications. You're not going to start any new ones. If you have any applications that are outstanding, you will withdraw them. If you have been admitted to any places, maybe at the same time, so you got admitted early action to a place while you just got admitted early decision to your top choice, you will just decline that acceptance. You'll decline any acceptances that you have. So pretty much your show's over. What are you doing next? You're probably hitting the bookstore, looking at housing and orientation. Congratulations. That's good stuff. All right. Now, back to this in this area, we talk about what do I need, to do if I need help deciding on the college of my choice. Okay, I anticipate that this is going to happen down the road. So this isn't a right now thing in the winter months, but I anticipate once we get to January and February and March, it's going to be harder. I truly hope that students on the back end of this year are able to saturate, campuses with visits. But unfortunately, I can't predict the future. What we do have, as I've put together, is we do have the Hazards at Forward College connection. So we have students that are alumni of universities are currently attending and also attended the prep. So you can leverage those conversations. You could do virtual visits. You could talk to your college counselor. We'll revisit some of your criteria that you had from the start. We'll coach you through the decision. We could talk about other things like cost of attendance, value, programs, curriculum, things like that. All right. So we can certainly, help you through that piece of it. Okay. All right. So going back to um, the beginning of this, my general comments for around the winter months are stay level. Do not get too high or too low with this process. All right. If you receive any decisions, be sure to note them in Naviance. If you need coaching on how to respond to defers and waitlists, make sure that you talk to, your college counselor. If you have had a good trimester, make sure that you have requested to your college counselor that these grades are submitted. Okay. And of course, if you have any questions as you go along, please let us know. Obviously, we're here to help. Collectively, what we're trying to do is pretty simple. We want to generate the best possible outcomes for all of you, and we eventually want you to get to, signed on to, a college where you are, excited to go, where you can be, happy, healthy, productive, and receive a great overall experience. All right. So I wish everyone a happy holiday season, and thanks for watching the December 9th college placement discussion series.